Recently, I started watching Frieren, and I've honestly tried to watch it a couple times, but the first couple times I watched it was I just had a lot going on and never finished it. So I decided to basically sit down last night while I was playing some video games and put it on and just try to crank it out and see how much I enjoy it. And overall, Frieren is an amazing story. The animation is pretty good, like with the magic and everything, especially for a anime. It's pretty good. There's a pretty consistent story being told. I do wish maybe we got a little bit more of a story of like back in the day, outside of flashbacks. I've always been a fan of kind of building up a character from ground zero, but that's not what Freyren's about, right? Freyren is about what would happen, realistically, what would happen if you could live forever. If you had the ability to be immortal today, what would happen? And I think it's so interesting to think about that. Basically, how they describe this story is at first, she is like, yes, she is an elf, but at first she almost remembers everything from, I guess, what you could say would be her childhood, from spending the time with her master to learning the spells to the quirks and everything. But then instantly, thousands of years pass, and I think that's something that a lot of people don't really realize. When shows and everything represent eternal life, they don't represent it properly. They always either try to make the character too overly emotional about things, or they try to like overhype it almost. I think a really good example of this is like Wolverine. Wolverine has almost constant emotions about things that like happened 300 years ago in some of the comics and in some of the shows and stuff like that. And I think Frieren does the complete opposite of that. It shows that the fact that after hundreds and hundreds of years of basically everything passing by like that instantly, you would kind of lose some of your emotion towards things. Because what is a life in comparison to almost immortality? What is a life in comparison to uh, like living thousands and thousands of years, especially in a medieval time where people are living to 60 to maybe 80-year old maximum, and the average person only lives to like 40. So most of the time, if you were immortal, you wouldn't even be able to spend time with someone long enough for them to leave an impact on your life. You live for thousands of years, and maybe you see them for 5 to 10 years. And I think that's something that's really, really good about Freyren is the representation of that. And she's kind of coming to this realization that she does have these emotions. She does actually care about these people, and maybe since she can live so long, it's not that big of a hassle to basically be a part of these people's lives as long as possible, as long as like she cares about them. And I think there's something kind of magical about that. And I think the representation is just crazy because I think that the first 1,000 years and the perspective of a elf that knows they're basically going to live forever and they travel the continent would probably end the exact same way that the show is going right now, where it's just building up constantly to the fact that she actually wants to basically live those small blips with people instead of just traveling the world by herself forever. And like outside of that, I think the voice acting is really good. We'll just kind of run through a little bit of a list here. The voice acting is really good. I think the voice actors are absolutely slamming it in the show. I think the concept of the demons is really nice. I think there's too many shows that try to do one of two things. They either try to make it where demons are like these horrific beasts that are like crazy bad, or they try to make it where demons are insanely good, but then they're like misunderstood. Like they're like emo or something like that. Like that's how they represent it a lot of the time. And I'm sorry, but it's just annoying when they do that. I like Freyren's representation. Demons have a set moral and value, and outside of that, they don't care what it takes to get it. It's very similar to human desire, and I think that's the way that demons should be written in most shows. Is humans and demons should kind of reflect each other. Now there is some things that go around this, like I think having like a demon continent and like making it where they're like friendly and like everybody's kind of at peace is cool. But if you're going to make two opposing sides like want to go to war against each other, I think making it where they physically have complete opposite beliefs is extremely important because for me, I can't comprehend why two species would essentially ever fight in a war, ever fight in combat, ever fight in anything if they didn't have opposing beliefs outside of just, well, I don't like you because you looked at me funny. Where in Frieren, it's like, no, they don't like demons because the demons purposely take human form and human speech to try to trick you so that way they can obliterate you. It's kind of like almost if you guys have seen Seven Deadly Sins, where the demons the entire time are basically like they just want to eat human souls, and up until the very ending, and that's because that's the nature. That's a big reason why they are at war. It makes sense. Where one that doesn't make sense why they're at war is the wrong way to use healing magic. Like it's demons versus humans, but it doesn't make sense why they're at war because a lot of the demons are very similar to the humans. But yeah, that's just kind of like my summary of Frieren. It's a great anime. I do think it is a little bit of a slice of life anime. I think it has that adventure but like slice of life vibe a lot of the time for me. And I'm not super into slice of life, but it's a great anime, and I completely understand why people said it deserved like the awards and stuff now because genuinely as a slight as that kind of uh perspective of the struggles of immortality is always something that I've always been extremely interested in, and I think they just execute it perfectly. But I don't know, check it out. That's the only thing I can really recommend. But thank you guys so much for watching, and have a wonderful night. Peace.